Hey guys, welcome to our second video on the Scarlet tutorial, Scarlett Johansson likeness tutorial in ZBrush. And for this video, I just wanted to start first with the preparing a model with a good base mesh that I will be using for the project, because I don't want to start adding details or like sculpting more into it before having a base mesh that has better topology that works for me. And in the same time, at least I know that this is going to be like the base mesh that I will be using for further details like modeling or texturing later. So I just decided to take the chance to do something that some people are interested in, which is using wrap. And this is really amazing. I was thinking about two things. I was thinking that maybe I would retopo the head, and I know that there is a lot of videos on YouTube that shows you how to like retopo a model in Maya or in Toboggan or whatever. But I decided to show you guys this really cool software and this really cool technique that's really a time saver and something amazing that we always use in production. And it's like really helpful if you know this kind of stuff, if you're going to be working in film or in games. So I decided to, instead of just like recording myself just retopoing, which you can, like I said again, just find it on YouTube, like there's thousands of videos doing that. I decided to just show you like how we do it in production, or how I do it. So yeah, so I use this software called Wrap, and I know that now they have like a plugin that you can use inside ZBrush. I haven't got the time to play around with that, so I will just be using the regular Wrap software. So it is really simple. I've never used Houdini before, but like a lot of people are saying that the interface is similar to Houdini. So what you need to do is that once you start the software, it's gonna look like this. And then for us, we're gonna be wrapping a base mesh to the sculpt. So what I did with my sculpt is that I decimated the highest details, and I exported a mesh with this decimated high details, which is, there is not a lot of details so far as we saw like from the first video. But if you have like a model where you're like detailed it and you had bought all the details, it's good to export a decimated mesh so that you like match it exactly. And I have another base mesh, and you guys can use like any base mesh that you like. There is several base meshes even in ZBrush itself. So just get your hands on one of the base meshes that you think that it looks alright to you, or that you know that someone is like working in production and you trust you trust them because you know that they work like for a good place and they are like selling a base mesh on Gumroad or something like that. Then you can by all means just use it, or you can just build your own base mesh. So whatever works for you. So what I will do now, once I open the software, if I click tab in here, I have the geometry and image and selection and alignment. And we're gonna use all of that. So we're gonna start first by geometry, and I'm gonna be loading two geometries like I said. So I'm gonna be loading, my base mesh, which I'm gonna call base, and I'm gonna be getting my sculpt, and I want to wrap my base on the sculpt. So in my base, if I go here and I can get like base Scarlet, and then this is gonna be my base mesh. I'm not worried about the orientation or the scale now. I will do that later once I have everything in the right place, because sometimes I just don't want to start with a big scale, like the correct scale like 24 centimeters height for the head, for example, in the beginning, because ZBrush doesn't handle big models that good. So I don't want to start with that. And if you see here that you have your wireframe or surface or lighting or whatever, you can also translate or rotate or scale. Because, for example, if you have like your scan or your decimated sculpt is really big, and then your base mesh is like really small, it's always better to try to like make them as close as possible before you start the wrapping inside wrap. So that's what I try to do. For me, I did that first in ZBrush. I just scaled it to be almost the same scale. So let's remove the wireframe so we can like see it better. And like I told you, I don't care now about the orientation. I think I can even no. Okay. So, and in the sculpt, I'm gonna bring my decimated version. And as you can see, like now they have like the same scale almost. So I'm gonna hide the wireframe. So something that's cool is that once you control click, so this is basically like the show or hide thing, this blue thing here. So once I click like control and click on something, then it shows only the thing. So that's the base that I have, and that's the sculpt. So what I will do next is that I will load something called selection. In selection, I will get something called selected polygons. And for the selected polygons, this is basically what I will do in this one. It's a little bit tricky, but I will try to tell you what is that. So in my base, so if I hide everything and I have my base, if I go to editor, I think I need to connect it first. So for connections, because it's also a little bit tricky to connect and wrap, what you do is that you click and then you drag it. So click on this and then drag it here. So if I go now in my editor, you can see that I have like what I made is that I made my inner eye socket and my inner mouth, because I have in this base mesh I have both like inner eyes and inner mouth, like I always advise you guys to have. And in this one what I did is that I went to ZBrush and quickly I grouped my my inner eyes and my inner mouth, and I made like one group of them. And when I exported my model, now it's exported with polygroups, so that the whole head is one group, and then the inner eyes socket and the inner mouth socket is one group. So this means that if I go to polygroups and then select this one, now it's red. This means that when I wrap my model, my base mesh on the sculpt, it will take care that to keep freezing like the inner eye socket and the inner mouth socket, and it will not get fucked up when I do my wrapping, you know. So yeah, something like this is gonna be really helpful. Otherwise, when we start wrapping, the inner eyes are gonna be like flying all over the place, and the inner mouth, and it's gonna be like intersecting and like getting out of the mouth area and all of that. So we don't need this. So that's why we use the selected polygons node. So after that, I will get a node also in the selection. It's called select points. And in the select points, let me just make sure. Yeah, so in the select points node, what we will have to do is that this is gonna be the points that we're gonna use to indicate, to wrap which point is gonna be wrapped to which point. And you will understand once I start working. So what I need to do is that if you like hover over this, you're gonna find like something called geometry. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't care. So in this one it's all right, because in some nodes you have like fixed and floating. So that's what we need to do. So for example, if I get on my alignment, I get my wrapping node, which is like the most important one, which we're gonna use for the wrapping part. So you have here something called floating, and here something called fixed geometry. So floating is gonna be the one that's gonna be wrapped, and fixed is gonna be the thing that I need to keep, the shape that I need to keep. So for example, of course I need to keep my sculpt to be fixed, and I need my base to be floating and wrapped on the sculpt. I hope that's that you can understand this. And let me go to my viewport 3D. And then the select point, like I told you, is going to be the thing that I will be like indicating which point goes to which point, and you will understand once I start doing this. So for the select point, let's do it. Something very important is that you need the same order that you have your nodes connected in the wrapping. It has to be the same order for the select points. So you can't put this one here and this one here. It's gonna be a little bit weird, so it sometimes doesn't even work. So you have to do this one here, this one here. And then you have here in the wrapping, you have something called point, which is what you use here. And you have also these select polygons, which we're gonna use here. And now like we have everything. So you can even like see from the colors. There is also one other thing that you can do, is if I click on here in image, you can see load image, extrapolate image, transfer texture, and save image. And this is important when you're like trying to project also textures. So you can just get load image and connect it to this green thing with the node, and then load your textures. And then you can use transfer texture, and then you can like transfer it from this one to this one. So it's very simple. It's the same idea. I also advise you guys to like go to the Wrap 3 tutorials page. It's on Vimeo or on their website. You can understand all of that, and you can see a lot of videos. So once I have done all of this, my next thing I will do is to do the select points. And for this one, I need to go to the editor. And once I'm in the editor, you know, I can like select my points and like keep moving on this direction, and then like go here and like move in this direction. So a good thing to do is to sync my views. And once I sync my views, they will be like moving together in the same time. So that's cool. And then let me start like adding the points. So for example, a good thing to do is, first of all, you have to keep the same order, exactly the same. So for example, if I'm gonna have 0 here and then 1 here and then 2 here, so I need to do the same thing. I need 0 and 1 and 2. I don't want to be like 0, 1 and 2 and then 3 here, and then like do the opposite thing and think that it's gonna understand because I have like 4 points here and 4 points here. It's gonna have, no, it has to be like in the same order and in the same place. And keep in mind that sometimes while you're like adding a lot of points, you might start to like moving points around by mistake, and you have to keep eyes on the numbering and the order. So for example, if I add 0 here, I have to make sure that the other 0 is here. And in terms of where to start, it's alright, you can like start from this one or from this one. You can even like do this, like for example, I can do 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 3, and then I can like do it here like that. You can even like do 5 points and then 5 points there. So what I try to do is that I try to add more points in the areas that I'm sure that it has to match exactly, and then add less points in the areas that are like big or vague. So for example, on the forehead, I will not add a lot of points because I don't want it to be exactly the same, but like on the corners of the eyes or the corners of the mouth, this has to be exactly the same thing. Like for example, here on the nostrils, I know that I need this to be almost exactly the same. So, and what you can do is that you can always like move your points around, or you can control click it and then it will be deleted. And I know that it's a little bit of work to do it this way, but believe me, it's so much easier than retopoing. Everybody knows how horrible retopo is. So you can see like I can do that. Maybe like on the corners of the nostrils. And like you see, like I'm making sure that all my points are in the right order and in the same place. Now like the corners of the mouth, let's do both corners first, and then let's do like corners of the lips here, and then maybe like in the middle here, maybe these two, maybe also like the corners here. Like I said, I can just always move it around. Maybe like this one here, like here. Yeah, maybe the base of the nose. Maybe here. So important part is also the ears. So I try to add it in areas that make sense. Maybe here, here. And as you can see, like 43 and 43, which is very important. This one, yeah, that's enough. And of course, what you get out of wrap will never be exactly perfect. It will be like 95% perfect most of the times, especially if you're like making faces that they are close to each other, like the base mesh is like not that far from the scan or from the sculpt. But if they are that far, like the farther they are, the more work you will have to end up doing in ZBrush later, projecting and moving it around and all of that jazz. So yeah, maybe also like something in the back here to make it understand the boundaries of the ears. So that's why a quick move around of your base mesh inside ZBrush, like get it in the same scale, get it in the same proportions before you start the wrapping, is gonna be like really ideal. What I can do now also is that I can go here to my base and then use the wireframe, and I can like now see with my wireframe like where I want the brows to be and all of that, which is not very helpful in this case, but yeah, it's not that helpful actually. I will just leave it the same. And as you can see, when I am doing something that that is very like basic surface, flat surface that has no details like the forehead or the head itself, I would just like keep it without doing anything. Maybe I would just like add like a point here, and then I can add like points in the like the corner of the jaws. One here and one there. Maybe like one like to indicate like the end of the jaw, and then maybe like one like at the before the sternum, and then like 2 points like in the corners of the clavicles. So yeah, something like that. And maybe like one at the end here. And have in mind that by all means, if you try to wrap and then it didn't end up like you wanted, you can always like change the point order a little bit, like add more points or remove more points, and then you can wrap it again and see how it looks like, and you can keep like trying. And something like that looks okay. So things that's gonna be tricky, like this folding in the eyes, is gonna be always tricky to wrap. So I'm sure that this we're gonna have to clean it later in ZBrush. But yeah, so something like that. And let's go to wrap and let's hit compute. And as you can see, like now it's computing. I'm trying to bring this blue point to the red points. And as you can see, like now the groups inside, like the inner eyes or the inner mouth, they didn't extrude or intersect. Hopefully it might be starting here, so I might have not done it perfectly, or it might have just needed to, yeah, it went away. So we've been using this in production when we are working in film. We always use that, especially that we always get scans of the actors and actresses. And then what we do is that we take this scan and we have our base mesh. And that's also another reason that I don't want you guys to like suffer a lot in Retopo, is that basically if you start working in production, in film or advertising, it will be very rare that you would be doing retopoing, especially for human faces, because you will always have a base mesh. So I think it will be very rare to do something like that. While if you are like in games, maybe, I think also in games, like now in most of the studios, they already have their own base meshes. So you will never be doing this, while you will need to use softwares like RAP or softwares that's like in-house softwares that's exactly like RAP. So that's why I think RAP is really, really good. Like for the standards of the industry these days. So it's valuable. It's something like Marvelous Designer that it's not necessary to learn, but if you learn it, it's like a big plus, you know. Now it's like taking its time to try to match it as possible, as close as possible. And the cool thing is that you can like move around while it's doing that. I think you can also like change the color of the mesh so that you see what's happening. And and usually it doesn't take that long. I don't know, maybe because I have a lot of things, a lot of softwares open, so it's like taking from the processor and the RAMs, especially the recording. But yeah, it looks like it keeps struggling with the inner mouth. So let's see what's gonna happen in the end. I don't know, I am sure that I selected the poly group with the inner mouth, so it shouldn't be moving the inner mouth around that much. But yeah, so let me guys pause the recording and show you the results once it's done. So once it's done, it's gonna look like this, and what we should do next is that we would go and then again click tab, and then under geometry we load save geo, and then we can save now, like in our viewport 3D. You can also like see, so you see these things happening here. That's what I was telling you, that you never end up with like perfect. You see that, but this is very easy to like fix in ZBrush, and I will like show you. But all in all, it looks like really nice. So here in save geometry, I need to like load where I need to save it, and then I'm gonna call it wrapped. Save it here, and then you need to just click compute current frame, and then the mesh was successfully saved. So let me open this in ZBrush and like show you what we can do, like to clean the messed up parts and make sure that everything is perfect. So here I'm in ZBrush. Let me import the wrapped model. So as you can see, like it's really good. So if I move it up here next to my model, so that's my model and that's my wrapped base mesh. And if I do these poly groups, you can see now what I was talking about, that I have the inner eyes and the inner mouth. So if, for example, I hide everything, let me do double, so you can see like now I have like the inner mouth. I can do this. I have the inner mouth intact, I have the inner eyes intact. I will definitely like move them around once I have like my my eyes, my corneas, so that they would cover the corneas. But yeah, we don't need to care about this now. So what we need to care about is this very small things, like here, which is not a big deal at all. So you can just like clean it out, and then you can always just like bring it also to Maya and like, you know, like cut one of the halves if you want to like make your model symmetrical. But in this case, since I'm sure that I will not be working on a symmetrical model at the end, so I don't care. So I can like fix it one side by one side. Oops, that's too much. Yeah, something small like that is enough. And then here also, like, I can just smooth it a little bit. And even when I start projecting, something else I can do is that I can do something like that. So I'm sure I'm only working on one of the sides. once I'm gonna start projecting, I will have also like problems here, and that's why I always prefer to do this kind of transfers and wrapping and projecting before I get into like really tiny small details and skin pores level kind of thing. I think, let me think of something here. If for example I do this I can use my lasso and hopefully it can work this way, and then I can no, still connected somehow somewhere, so it will not work. Yeah, as you can see, like the problem is that they were intersecting inside here. So let me grab it out from this side. This side is better, it's working fine. Can like move it around here like that, smooth a little bit. Do the same thing here, smooth it, move it out of the way, move it out of the way. And oops, what happened here? Smooth it a little bit, and then I can always, like with my inflate, bring them together again. So yeah, something like that is okay. And then if I hide everything other than my wrapped version and my sculpt, and then I remove solo, you can see that it's perfectly the same thing. So what you would do next is that you would subdivide this one and then start projecting your model on it. And of course, when you do that, what I like to do is that again I would go to my inner eyes and my inner mouth, and I try to mask them whenever I'm like projecting, so this way they don't get messed up. So yeah, let me also like quickly show you that. So what I like to do when I subdivide, especially in ZBrush, is that I like to always store a morph target, and then I can subdivide like, let's say up to 7 million is okay. And then of course I know like my sculpt here is like 5 million, and I think I went that high on my sculpt just to get details that was like, if I show you, like you see, that's because it was zero meshed, so I will not have this kind of problems here because I have like better topology. So so I don't think I will even like need it to be that high when I project the details. So maybe it will be okay to like project with my third subdivision or something like that. So let me go back again to my first subdivision and then switch so that I get my volume back again. That's why I stored my morph target, and then go to the highest subdivision, and then I can go maybe like to fourth or third subdivision. Yeah, maybe fourth. And I can always also like project bit by bit. So let me try first to like do it all at one go. So let me like try to project from this to that, and let's see. Sometimes if it's like get like really problematic, I would start to do it bit by bit, and I would keep like a layer where I have my projecting on. I'm sure that the mouth area is gonna give me a lot of problems, so I might end up splitting them. So let's try to do it while we are at it. It's gonna be a little bit annoying, so bear up with me. So let me try to see if we can do it this way. I don't know why it wasn't continuous. I don't know where exactly it got connected. So it's a little bit of a mystery to me. So if I do this and that, and then do it the same here, and then let's do auto groups. Yes, that's better. And then I can select only this group. And maybe I can Control W is like group visible, so I can like just group this now. Then I can even like do this and then auto group again. So this now means that I have this as a group. I can also like get this group with it and then Control W what I'm seeing. And then I can I need now to like cut the mouth. So what if I do this? Let me get my lasso. Like what if I cut inside like here and then auto group these. Then if I select this one here, I can go again in, oops, in there like that. No, something like that, and then auto group. So yeah, it's always a headache for me to do it this way. Bear with me, guys. And maybe I will try to like speed this part after the recording so that it's not annoying to you people. But let's hide this one now. Let's get the eyes. So let's get this one like that. And let's get this one like that. And auto group. And it seems like it's still connected, or maybe it's just, oh no, it's still connected. It's still connected in the eyes up here. Yeah, in here. Let's remove this. Auto group. This one's still here. That is very annoying. What if we do it like let me get back in steps. Let's do it like in the row before. and then here. It's better. Here, and then here. And then auto groups. So yeah, so now we have like all of that. Nice. So no more of that. Let me try to now like tidy up what we have. So let's get this one out. Let's get this one out, and then let's Control Shift X to like grow one edge loop that was hidden, and then I can just control this one and then Control W so that I can get like the extra edge loop, and then Control W again. So now we have the eyes split. Now we have this split, and let's see about that. So I can just get this one here, get this one here, get this one. If I go like this, I can. This one is fine. I can remove it. So yeah, so I end up with only this one, so that I need to Control W this, so I don't have the extra edge, and that's fine. So yeah, something like that. Sorry guys for wasting your time with this, but it is very important, and you see that it will be of a help once we start projecting. So yeah, so once we have this, I can now go as high as my 4th subdivision, okay, and I make sure that I have only like shown only the sculpt and the base mesh, and then now I can select these and hide them for now. So now I have those. Control click outside so it's masked, and now I'm sure like these are masked and they will not be affected by my my projection. Something else that I like to do is that I can go lower and then click on it so that I can fade the mask, so that the transition is gradually happening. It's not harsh, and then I can go to my 3rd or 4th subdivision, and let's try and see how it's gonna look like. So I think the eyes, the eyelids, and the mouth areas are gonna be screwed a little bit, so let's see how it's gonna look. And let me go now like in my subtool, and then project and project all, and let's see the first try. And yeah, not that bad. So it's just a couple of hiccups here and there, so something like that. So I don't get like really fancy when I'm like cleaning my model. And that's another thing that I like to do, is that if I had details, I would have to like keep more targets and like cleaning everything after I finish it, and all of that pain in the ass to do. While because I only have my my mesh not with all that details, then I can totally just go over it, smooth everything out, clean it, keep going back and forth on cleaning it, so this way that I don't have to worry about smoothing my details. So that's a good thing, that I would do this before any detailing, so that once I start detailing, I have my model working perfectly topology wise, I have my UVs working fine, I have everything perfect, same vertex order, so I can bring it anytime into ZBrush and it will be working fine. So you see what's happening here, very easy to fix now. But if we had details, it would have been pain in the ass. And then I can just go higher, and then we will see the problems. And then clean it again, go higher again, and smooth it out. So another thing that's cool is when you split that, is that you can just like go over it one by one and like fix it. And I can even like project this, like for example, if I have like my details here, it's right because I don't have like a lot of details, so this is fine, you know. But if I had like details, what I would have done is that I would have just cut this part and then go here and then like cut, like try to do the same thing and cut only this part, like the lower jaw, and then I would start projecting only the lower jaw from the sculpt, and then do the same thing on the upper lips or jaw by itself. So this way, like separating your mesh is a good idea for that. So let me do the transparency. Let's bring it back. Let's solo it, and yeah, just a couple of smoothes around, and we have it. You know, this is the thing that I was telling you guys, that it's very important to have the fold, which is like some people miss. It's very important. So you can always like get it back again. So perfect. That looks really nice. What about the ears? Yeah, that's it. Only this part. It's totally fixable. And this is my details on 467,000 the poly count. So this means that I can go higher and add all my details. So basically I got like all my details that I sculpted so far. I can now unmask it, and let's like make sure that yeah, everything is intact and everything is perfect. So very cool, very clean. That's what's really important. I have like my inner eyes. This I will be sculpting later. So once I'm gonna like get into the details of making sure that my thickness of the eyelids is exactly how I want it, I will start like taking care of that. But in this stage it's not a problem at all, as long as I have lids and inner eyes. So yeah, that's really nice. And yeah, my topology looks alright. Now I will be able to sculpt in there. It was very difficult to sculpt here. Like I can show you guys, like you can see what's happening here. Like every time I would start to like add details, now it will be very easy for me to add any details that I want. Like also like on the lips, it's gonna be very easy. Like you see, whenever I find this, I can always like get an inflate brush and bring it back together again. Do that here again. I always love to do these things, like making the lips overlap, and like I like to always keep the upper lip hanging over the lower lip, and this is something that I always say to the feedback and the mentorship tiers that I give them feedback on their work. I always tell them to make sure that your upper lips are like hanging on the lower lips, and they are like, it looks like they are collapsing, which makes it look very natural. And also in the same time, this thing here with the the fat that's hanging from the eyebrows area and your upper eyelid. You need to have this kind of like, there must be a geometry in there, you know. You need to have this. You can even exaggerate in that, you know. So I might do that later, because that's what happens in real life. So yeah, this kind of things, guys, will always like make your model look realistic. Also, like stuff like maybe here, I'll try to like maybe add this like on a higher subdivision. So if I go higher, so as I'm going higher, I need to clean this stuff. But yeah, I can always like come here and like make sure that I have a deep kind of like a valley here, and I do that also like on the other ear. So this kind of things, especially when you start like rendering and using the skin shader, it's gonna make a big difference in your model. So I always try to have that. It's always better also to like maybe do it in the base mesh itself, to have enough space for that. But yeah, anyways, you can see like now that I went to higher subdivisions, like I now on the highest, I keep getting like this. It's very easy now. I can smooth it out, I don't care. Otherwise, if I had like any details like pores and like XYZ details applied already, I would have been worried about smoothing around while having these details. But now I don't care, I can just smooth everything out and it will be fine. So yeah, so I hope this video, I know that it wasn't like interesting as sculpting and like very artistic, and it was like more technical, but I think it's very important for you guys, for the people who want to like be doing stuff like, or already doing stuff for production. So it shows you like what I do exactly when I'm like working on a film or in advertising, when like the Elton John thing, like I sculpted first, and then I used the base mesh that I have at MPC, and then I applied my sculpt on the base mesh this way. And for the people who are like only interested in the part of sculpting or the artistic part, I think you can also still use it, guys, to get better topology. That way that it would help you to make your sculpt look better and smoother, you know, and you don't have to like get this kind of hiccups that you get with zero measure. You know, you can control your topology better this way, and I am sure that this is so much better and easier for you guys than retopoing. So yeah, basically now every time I would retopo something, it's either like a creature that I don't have a base mesh for, because mostly if we are making an animal like a dog, for example, I have a base mesh. Of course we have a base mesh for a dog wherever I was working, like for film or advertising, and even for games I'm sure that they have that. And if you are working on human, of course you have that. So it's very, very valuable in production, and very also valuable for you even if you're like doing sculpting for 3D printing, like collectibles or something like that. Then this means that you can only have one base mesh with the topology that you like to sculpt on, and you keep this base mesh, and every time you sculpt something, you just keep sculpting whatever you need, and you can just wrap it at the very end on your base mesh. So yeah, I hope you guys find this video useful and find this technique useful. And if you have any questions, just please write them in the comments. And yeah, I promise you that we're gonna get back again to the artistic stuff next week. We're gonna take this model into a non-symmetrical sculpting, and then we will start to add like more details into it, and we're gonna be in a really good stage that would allow us the week after to start applying all the texturing XYZ and really high frequency details and skin details. Okay, cool. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much, and see you next week.